I'm going to dive straight in and ask you three, what are you bringing to CIFF? Tell me about your space.
So we are doing a installation about chair making. So Max did this amazing design 10 years ago, so we thought we'll bring it to CIFF and allow for people to see the sort of the open source approach to it, and also just make sure that Virgil's adding his special touch to it as well.
Because you all have different aspects that you're bringing into it. So how did you come up with tapping Max's chair, and what are you each contributing at?
Well, it starts with Max's design, as Sami said. You know, I think it's extremely efficient and sort of a good intro for people that normally don't make objects that surround them. So sort of leaving where that design left off, we sort of added this sort of like characterization sort of bank of paint and just freedom to sort of, after the handcraft, sort of give it an aesthetic that's like a finishing touch.
A lot of the DIY chairs have been made in the last 10 years, but although people sometimes evolve the design and adapt the design to become slightly different, nobody's ever, or at least not that I've seen, has ever kind of characterized it or kind of edited it on a kind of a surface level. They have on a construction level. So I think this is the first time where people really kind of see it as a canvas and want to make it their own.
Any like visceral reactions from consumers downstairs?
I just love the fact that people are kind of willing to dedicate an hour of their kind of precious time, and especially in an event like this where there's so much to see and do, just to kind of come and, well, and also to risk getting dirty and bother making something. I mean, it's quite overwhelming that there's that much interest in taking part.
I'm really impressed by the fact that fashion kids want to just get their overalls on and start painting chairs. I think that's quite cool.
We've done a lot of these things where it's like, hey, here's a 8x10 booth, exhibit clothes or exhibit artwork. But with this sort of like inward facing, we're just in here like we're legitimately trying to get something done. We're getting interrupted.
You lose track of that, there's people outside.
But that's the interesting thing, I think, is that the booth and the DIY chair, it's about making. And then in 2018, that's the attraction. Because there's always kids waiting outside, or there's like a journalist waiting, and it's creating like this gathering while we're just sort of inwardly focused on trying to get this task done.
It's become a performance without it sort of like being a performance. It's we're just making furniture. That's what we're doing. But it's become a spectacle.
It's the way the space is designed. It's kind of like you're watching this whole almost like live theatre, like immersive theatre happen in front of you. Is that something that you guys thought about when you were creating that kind of? It's almost a box.
Boxes are great. Yeah. Sami, you kind of create that box.
Yeah, I think it's the thinking was that there is a lot of things happening in sort of exhibitions, so we want to make sure that if someone's in there, they're really just about the chair and about making it.
That's nice.
It's actually really therapeutic. Like when you're in there, you kind of lose track that you're.
You lose yourself in that process, and that's really important.
Sami, I want to ask you a little bit about the kind of term curator and what that means to you.
For me, curation is about making sure that there's two worlds or two things coming together for the betterment of whatever it is. So these two gentlemen in front of you right now, they are very interesting in their own fields and disciplines, and actually marrying that up together is kind of what it's about.
As we were saying, you've got two different brain minds. Everyone's got their bringing something to the table, and that's very much the same with CIFF. Everyone's coming from different locations and backgrounds, and what do you think it is that's bringing everyone together?
To me, it's a bit of like fashion is now like a sort of catch-all term, you know. It's in a way like sport, you know, football. Like if you're interested in football, like you find different ways to gather around. And so fashion, I think what we're doing is sort of expanding the term. You know, it's not just about the clothes. I think clothes and fashion have a sort of designer, you know, artistic quality that attracts people to sort of observe. And I think this sort of installation just expands the definition of fashion to creatives making something else.
Where you see a pile of material at one moment, and then the next moment you see a chair.
Tangible.
You know, it's kind of a really kind of immediate realization that the fabric of our kind of man-made world is just piles of raw material.
Yeah.
And last question, Virgil, I just want to go to you. You've been coming to Copenhagen for a while now, about 5 years, I'd say. What keeps bringing you back?
I consider like CIFF or anything like this matter like a patron of the arts, you know. Like they're giving us space and opportunity to sort of be creative without the limits of necessarily logistics. And that I think is valuable, and sort of they've always sort of left room, a part of their bigger operation, to have creative adjacencies. So
Perfect. Thank you guys so much.
cool.
Thank you.